I woke up this morning, this change in the weather got me all.
Gosh, I shouldn't have
Oh, yes.
What's up?
How are you?
Good, page after page.
How's the baby? How are you doing? How about you? I'm good.
We're way down there.
Commissioners Court, Monday, December 10th, 2012, in session this evening.
Who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Good morning, everyone. Second item is public comment. We've had two coming up, that would be Howard Burgess and Sharon Okiella. Is there anyone else that wishes to make public comment? If not, Howard.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning. Just wanted to first say thank you to you all for allowing us to be here. The library board, or the library, Wilson County Education Foundation, has been looking to construct a new library. Is here. We believe after some preliminary conversation, we may have reached an appropriate plan or a resolution. In the past, I've come in here and talked to you about some other projects we were pursuing, including one involving an empty building here in town that I think y'all gave me some authority to go forward on. I want to let you know that on that one, I put that on hold pending all of this resolution. And I think we're going to be having something positive. I don't want to jump the gun on anybody else's announcement, but I think it looks like we're getting something resolved. We would like to make sure, we would like to encourage you all to take a little bit of time, make sure that the numbers crunch, and that we've got enough, the right amount of money in the bond, neither too much that we'd have to have more tax on the public than it needs to be, or too little to where we don't have enough to finish the project. But just do the normal due diligence in the planning, and just let you know that on the other things that we have talked about before, I put that on hold pending this resolution.
Thank you. Karen Okiella.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here, and I am here in my professional capacity on behalf of the River Authority. I wanted to let you guys all know that we are going to be hosting a planning and development workshop. They're coming, we're going to actually host 3 in each one of the communities. And these are to introduce this handbook. We've talked about it a couple of times. I know we talked about it at the workshop, and I'll give each one of you guys one of these. What I'm gonna give you is a CD of the actual handbook itself, which is a 700 and some odd page document. So by the time that we have these, we expect you to have read through that and memorized it all. No, but if you'll glance through it, you know, if you have any questions, or you don't see something in there that maybe, because what this is to help you do is to do, you know, planning and development for the community. And we had put it together based on the, you know, the Eagle Ford Shale, and as quickly as it's come, a bunch of the communities, most of the communities have all been hit with all kinds of different things that they weren't really sure how to deal with, and all of the communities are dealing with them. And so some have taken care of one item and others have taken care of another, and so we tried to get together. We, not only the communities in the Eagle Ford Shale, but we also did some studies with, well, our consultant, but anyway, in some of the other communities in the other shales. And so those communities may have already put together an ordinance or dealt with the issue that they have in some way that you can also use as an example. So we put examples, things like that in here. And so we'll talk about all of that at the workshop. We'll go over all of that. On here are the dates of the workshop. If you can't make the one in your community, which they will be doing at the Floresville City Hall on Wednesday, January 9th at 6 p.m. We're going to do it in the evening because we're also trying to get city council members, and of course most of them are working during the day at other jobs. So anyway, just so you know, and if, of course if you can't come, you know, at least somebody from the community, and you know, so that, but we wanted you all to have this tool in your hands, and so that's what I'm here for today. And that's all I have. I'm very sorry.
Okay, certificate of completion.
I don't have any at this time.
Item 4, extension activity report. We're going to have a copy of the activity
Yes,
report.
sir, it's been good.
Item 5, Renee M. Pena, 8th District Attorney's Office, 2012-59 Asset Forfeiture Report. Is anyone here from Renee's office? Item 6, David Kraus, ACOG. Item 8, present the recently released county level population projection scenarios from the Texas State Data Center in the period 2010 to 2050. For discussions, also present the employment forecast for discussion.
Good morning, Judge Quinn, Commissioners. My name is David Cruz I'm with the Alamo Area Council of Governments. And every 5 years, the San Antonio Bexar County NPO asked us to prepare a small area forecast of population and employment in 5 of the 12 counties that ACOG operates in: Bexar, Comal, Guadalupe, Kendall, and Wilson counties. And as part of that, we typically use the State Data Center or the Water Development Board forecast of population as our control tool. So before we can actually get to work on those, we need to have an agreement from the Commissioner's Court about which of the forecasts we should use. Now, typically we have the Water Development Board's numbers as well, but in this particular go-round, they haven't had a chance yet to, because of the 2010 census, they have not yet had a chance to revise their forecasted population for us to compare and present. But we do have the Texas State Data Center numbers, which were officially released back in, well, just this past month in November. And what you have before you in this handout right here, the spreadsheet, is the population of 2010 as well as the projected 2000 out to 2050 forecasted population. And the scenario 1.0 is the
Yes, I'm handing this. Give me just a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Certainly. This is essentially the Texas State Data Center's official demographic forecast for Wilson County out to the year 2050. Now, our focus is 2040 because that's what the transportation planning process requires from anyway, FHWA and that sort of thing for Bear County and surrounding counties to be part of. Because, you know, a lot of counties, you know, feed employment in population, daytime population into Bear County. They're required to include, you know, surrounding counties as part of their effort. The spreadsheet I was drawing your attention to, first of all, shows a 1.0 migration. And this basically says, the way they do their forecast is they say that, you know, there's a certain amount of natural increase, people, you know, being born and dying, and then there's migration into the county, you know, for a population. And so the 1.0 basically says that the period, the year 2000, 2010, taking that migration and saying if that sort of constant migration is going to be carried forward to the next, to the next 20 or 30 or 40 years, and that's what they've applied in their forecast. Okay. The next one down is the 0.5, it's 0.75, which is what we've done, is not an official forecast, but it is an interpolation of the 0.5 forecast, which is half the migration, essentially, from between 2000 and 2010. And then the 0.5 is the second official forecast from the State Data Center. And so what we're requesting is that if y'all feel comfortable making a decision as to what the migration rate would be, that would lead to what the correct or the proper forecast would be for a future year population in Wilson County, at least out to 2040. And that would, again, give us a starting point in our forecasting process. Because what we need to do then at that point is to look at the sub-county level, and that's going to have an impact on the transportation planning process in the region. So that's really the focus of what we're trying to do in the big picture. But again, today we, if you have a feeling or a sense of, which one of these forecasts make the most sense. And I know in the past it's been, 1.0, which has been the higher migration rate, which meaning that's the highest amount of population forecasted for Wilson County in the out years.
There's probably no reason for that being less with Eagle Ford moving in on the south side and the, still being the bedroom county for Bear County. So that is the highest number, what has been, is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's the highest that's been projected.
I concur with that. I ran some numbers with my calculator, and based upon what we've done the last 2 decades, and where it is, we seem to be trending still. I think 1.0 is where we should be.
Well, then that's all come from the north, and now we got it coming from both sides, so, I think probably, Albert,
Same with what Commissioner White said. And the growth probably from 8 to 7,000 every 10 years, almost 9,000 every 10 years, and then it goes up as the years go by, so yeah.
They project any of the employment increasing more in Eagle Ford?
There was a report that was recently released by the University of Texas at San Antonio. It was the Eagle Ford Shale Economic Development report, and we took that into consideration. They were saying that, I forget, Travis, there were like an extra 2,000 additional employment that they were looking at, coming into Wilson County over the next like 8 years or something like that.
We have many of them now, but there's temporary quarters and things, which many of them will probably move on, but many of them will probably become permanent residents, so I think it'll all be a wash as far as the growth's going to be.
And what we've done with the employment is we've included that information from the UTSA report into the forecast.
And our upscale subdivisions are experiencing a number of oil executives. So we're in a unique position because we're close to Bear County, not far from all of the happenings. So I'm afraid it's not going to slow down.
You just really need a consensus on which one we.
Yes, sir.
I think it's 1.0.
1.0, yes,
That's pretty much. We appreciate the presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Item 7 new employee for auditor's office and amend budget for such.
I'm up.
Yeah, you're up.
Well, talk to the district judges and I'll talk to most people in the county. And, I would be happy to stay here, but I would like to have an additional employee in my office. And I've run some numbers on it and did some adjusting here and there, and I'm thinking that, we probably would need to increase the budget by about $20,000, for me to go ahead and do that.
I want, with most everyone else that you talk to, and, it's so, we put everything out for everyone to understand. Ms. Verna has a business that she's had for a number of years that she's taken care of as far as auditing, and she wishes to maintain that business. The district judges have said basically that, if you take care of your job as an auditor, we have no problem with it. When I first heard the comment that, well, we need to put another person on, my first thought was that, well, she's not doing her job if she has to put another person on. However, Atascosa County has 3 to 4 employees in their office. Karnes County, which is much less, has 2 full-time and a part-time in theirs. And I knew that, I had forgotten it, but I knew that before it was brought to my attention because I had used it before to, and so, for what it's worth, I support the, what she's asking for here, so. Anyone else have any comment or whatever?
The only question I have, Judge, is I know that the treasurer, when she's fixing to lose an employee, retirement or, you know, she's part-time, and I was just wondering if that individual could help out with the treasurer office, you know, that third person.
I wouldn't have a problem with it, but I don't know how much time I'd be able to give. I mean, Jan and I work well together. She's helping me right now with Kristen being out, so I mean, I don't have a problem with it at all. I'm just not real sure, you know, time-wise, if one person would be enough for both of us. Because mainly, my main reason for getting her is to do the accounts payable, what Kristen is doing right now. And I would pull Kristen up to start helping with doing some actual audit work. The county's just growing by leaps and bounds, and I think there's a lot of things that we need to do. And, I mean, if she's, or whoever I hire is very efficient and has the time, I don't have a problem with it at all.
What are the time requirements for your part-time employee? What,
I have one 3 days a week, 24 hours,
24 hours?
and that's the one that's leaving, my part-time.
So essentially a 20-hour, a half-time person is what you're talking about. I know she's there 24, but if we have a 40-hour person, then you're talking about splitting the two essentially.
Good.
I don't
Now,
know.
Jan does have in her budget, I mean, we have in her budget for another part-time person.
Yeah, I don't have any money in my budget to add a person right now. So,
Other than the part-time person.
other than the part-time person. I don't have any money in my budget, so, yeah.
It's just something I'll throw out.
Well, that's probably something we'll have to deal with if we go, I mean,
Jan and I will duke it out.
Yeah.
and, you know, perhaps
Also,
feel need someone, go ahead, Ms. Eva, yes.
No, I missed it, so is there any kind of order that I'm supposed to write down?
Or just gonna be a motion.
Okay.
We'll hire an employee.
Hire, full-time, part-time?
Full-time.
Full-time.
Item 7. That is item 7. Motion. Commissioner File, second, Commissioner Gomez, all in favor? Unanimous. Item 8, consider and take action on revising wild animal ordinance to include bans on possession of snakes from all members of the Python family and the Way Dye family and the Wiley family.
Those are the worst ones.
Uh,
You thought I was gonna say something good.
We'll leave the Wiley family off. Is there a motion to approve that? Or everyone familiar with it? Motion to approve, Commissioner Morales, Commissioner Wiley, all in favor? We went ahead, we've done the one on the snakes,
Oh.
approved it.
And that was just, if the commissioners want to expand it.
Everybody other voted unanimous. Do you wanna kind of explain briefly to the people, what is?
When I brought the first ordinance on constricting snakes to the court, the only ones I listed were the ones that are listed in the Texas law that you have to have a state license to own. And there are, as I found out, literally a number of dozens of different subspecies of these things. Some of them, like the Burmese python, which is what's taken over Florida, were not listed in the state's list of ones you had to have a license for. So Dr. Pell suggested we expand that as much as we could. So I just expanded that to include all members of the python and boa/anaconda family. So it doesn't matter what kind of subspecies they have, and we don't have to try and worry about proving that, you know, the specific one they have is on the list.
And what is, veterinarian Hill came in the office here a while back, somebody had filed for ownership of some cobras. And, so we wanted to make sure that we abandoned the county. In fact, I contacted the legislator and asked him about their legislation. As far as the state's concerned, I don't think if they got loose in Coast County, they know where the county line was, so. So, it's pretty enthusiastic about it, so I don't think we'll have any trouble getting it through the legislature also. We'll try and see.
And since you've expanded the scope, you had put the effective date for constricting snakes to be January the 1st. That was when this was passed on November 26th. Do you want to change that date?
Nothing. Does it meet the requirements of as far as the law is concerned? If it doesn't, it'd be, we'll have to deal with that if we get somebody in those few days. Okay, item 9, discussion and possible action on award of management services for the implementation of the Texas Community Development Block Grant Program, Disaster Relief Grant number 712157 to Langford Community Management Services. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Kelly Oden, and I'm with Langford Community Management Services. Just want to give you a little history on the way this grant came about. Several months ago, Commissioner File and Commissioner Gamaz and Leanne contacted our firms to try to get some funding for the damages the county experienced in the May 2012 floods in those two precincts. So our firm, worked together with the county, the Texas Department of Agriculture, and they did finally award a $350,000 contract to the county. I believe your start date's November 14th. It's a 2-year grant, and it will be for materials only.
Thank you. Motion, Commissioner Gomez, Commissioner Fowle, all in favor?
Aye.
The other two, hold out on them.
They do a good job. But not these guys.
Item 10, discussion and possible action on resolution authorizing signatories for the Texas Community Development Block Grant Program, Disaster Relief Grant 712157. Commissioner Gomez, second Commissioner Fowle, all in favor?
Aye.
Item 11 was a repeat of 9, that was put on because we got some information called in, so it's the same as 9. Item 12, discuss and accept bids for tracts that failed to sell in the foreclosure sale. Cause number 05-11-1574 CBW Lot 25 Blue Bonnet Hill Subdivision, 2780 County Road 120, Floresville, Texas. account number 0618-011-000-02500. The second one is cause, B is cause number 08-04-0246, CBW 1.75 acres, Mendiola Survey, Sunnyside.
They kind of gave you a little bit more information there.
Thank you.
And they do each have a handout.
There's a bid on item one, $6,450 to 65%, of which would go to the city of Floresville, 35% to the county, and court costs would be $845.11. And the second one would be $6,000, 69% or $3,454.14 to the schools, 31% to the county, which is equal to $1,551.86. Court costs and cost of sale would be $994. Motion. Commissioner Morales, second. Commissioner Gomez, all in favor? Unanimous.
And that's for A and B.
A and B.
Thank you.
Item two, discuss and take action on architectural contract with the new Wilson County Justice Center, 1103 4th Street, Floresville, Texas, 78114.
One more, Lindsay Thorne from Graves Architects. Headed out the 11 by 17 next for you to have a look at what we're looking at doing here.
Yes.
I've got a short slide presentation. Forgive me if I mess it up. Again, I'm used to putting poster boards on easels, so I'll do my best. Over the last few months, we've been looking at the future of what we can do with this building complex. We spent time looking at other county offices around the city, seeing their needs, the departments, looking at how we could bring it together in an economic and cohesive way that would work for the betterment of the county over the next few decades. We've been doing it in other counties, particularly recently in Guadalupe County for about the last 7 years, where they had a similar arrangement where they were in the rental market with renting out buildings, some they owned, trying to consolidate and make it more efficient. They had an arrangement where they had about 75,000 square foot of an old furniture store that we can convert to the first and the third floor with a view over the next 5 years of converting the second floor to make an entire county facility, which is what we're in the process of doing right now. The unique nature you have, I think, that like I had seen, the unique nature you have here in Floresville is location of this particular building here that's been recently purchased by the county with respect to its downtown and keeping the all-important connection between the two areas. It's that was something that where I come from, I'm very cognizant of trying to be efficient with what buildings are around that we can use, that try and keep the status quo as much as possible. But as you know, as a county, you're growing all the time, and the aircraft data testifies to that, and it's testament to how we're expanding, the county expanding over the next series of decades. So looking at what you have around the county right now and the needs, I personally think that this facility we have here is a very good one. It needs a little bit of tweaking to get it right for us, but I think the bare bones you have and the costs associated with making this building work for what we had, the needs of certain departments, I think worked really, really well at a much cheaper cost than having to build new elsewhere. So I've got to, let me start with the slideshow. So, I have a pointer in here somewhere. Okay. All right, so we are currently sitting right about here on the plan. Here's our city block here. We're right sort of in this room right here. So what we're looking at doing from this aerial view is to renovate and remodel this part of the building here, which used to be the old school cafeteria wing. These two rectangles here are the two old porta cabinets that have recently been removed. But this part of the wing here, and up halfway up the school admin side here on this side. That's what will be shown on the next few drawings. If it works. Okay. So what we have here is existing floor plans. We were fortunate enough from the county, existing floor plans of most of the buildings on the down. We're currently sitting right in this room here. So we're looking at proposing to convert a much needed new courtroom for district court in this location here where the old school cafeteria was. Adding I'll have a plan that's slightly more enlarged coming up. This is where the current building looks like. We see there's a classroom, central hallway, classrooms again here, and here is the large building here which encompasses the old cafeteria. So what we're looking at doing, I'm actually going to sit down to this, is creating a new sally port here on the end, which will come off the existing corner through. So prisoner transfer can be dropped off, building new cells here, converting the existing cafeteria, which has a split level, into a new courtroom that will hold 93 gallery, 93 people here. Create a new jury room, judges' chambers here, and then look at bringing the county clerk over here, district clerk over here. We've got adult probation here, and then from here on forward, next slide. It's slightly enlarged. Okay, and then taking the remaining wing and then up here for the computer. We go back. Okay, this is all one large plan. The great issue about this building is we have a very sound building. It's in great shape. They'll be replacing roof sections here and there. We are looking at taking off the roof of this part and just putting a taller steel frame structure roof over here to give us more height to make the courtroom just feel a little bit more spacious in here. But for the most part, we are keeping within the existing walls that we have that currently exist of that part of the building. We are enclosing with its covered walkways here and bringing that as into a public gallery lobby area, but then the rest then become standard offices through here. We're keeping the CMU walls like you see in here, and the hallways, create openings where we need them, keeping the ramp systems, the stairs here, keeping the existing toilet block here, just updating it. So we're really looking at doing the best to keep the costs down on the project, and the flow works really well. Particularly when we bring adult probation over to this part here, we're also looking, this is important, we have, go back to the original site plan. Okay. We currently have a retaining wall that runs along the back street on the third here. We're looking at actually taking that down, moving it back, and actually creating a whole new row of parking of about at least 25, 28 cars along here. That will be great. That will also serve not only for the county employees, but also later on the day and for after hours, that will actually serve the adult probation fund as well. And we're looking then, we've been looking at an idea of master plan for the future, creating new courtroom, the second courtroom here or here, where you currently come into the old school, the entrance into here now, creating a new secure entry lobby, looking at putting the Commissioner's Court along the north side here on 4th Street, and then and judge commissioners' offices along here. This will then complete the whole. If we have a courtroom here, we'll actually then create a secure hallway from the new cells in the Sally Port, so that prisoner transfers can come into the rear, public can come into the rear galleries from the back, and employees can have their own entrance, separate entrances in as well. But it creates a secure environment for the entire block. That will be a staged area down the road. But you can see here on the master plan, we're still keeping here, I think we've got about 5,000 square feet, give or take there, that we'll be having for future expansion in later days. All told, the new clerk's office, probation, attorney's offices here, with new courtroom, we're looking here to around about 22,000 square feet for this one. And the great thing about we'll be able to orientate on the building here is that the Sally Port, once we build it, can facilitate the first phase as well as any future phases.
So, just so clear up any confusion, I may be out of the loop or anything. You talked about the courtroom and the judges and commissioners and up there. And we have discussed going back to the courthouse with the...
That's right. That's right. That's right. That was sort of the phase one, the entrance we were looking at. But I think with the way that we are, the numbers we've had back from our initial investigations of the existing courthouse and the last conversations we've been talking about, I think leaving this here as future expansion space and then moving to the top of the courtroom, I mean, using the existing second floor courtroom, and we're doing exactly the same thing what we can. That's definitely the move.
Well, what he's basically saying, that, and just so everyone understands, this is a plan that we looked at. It's much more expensive to build a new courtroom there than to go back to the old courtroom. And so with the plan that he has here as far as the district court, it's all housed in the same building, the courtroom, the district clerk, adult probation, and the DA's office, which he met with each entity to determine their needs to reach this plan. We sensed very preliminary, but it looked like a plan. We've looked at going back to the courthouse for the county operations, the county court, the commissioner's court, the district, the county attorney, the treasurer, the auditor, and the commissioners back in the courtroom itself, which could be done at a fraction of the cost, and we were going to stabilize the old courthouse for some reason, for some use anyway, because of the historical value of the courthouse itself. And so it's just a practical way to address this. And then, just so everything's wide open, and the library group has looked at this building that we're sitting in now, and has tentatively said that yes, it will work. And so that kind of completes all of our phases for a number of years that we will need to address. However, in the future, where he had the courthouse there, may not work that well because there's been a library next to it. But at the end of the facility here, where this metal building is, leaves room for a courtroom that's right adjacent to the silent port and the holding building. So, and that would be years down the road if that occurred. But I'm real excited that it looks like everything's coming together, and libraries agreed on this building, and so.
I think it's a really important point. I sort of wear two hats, unlike most architects. I actually I have an understanding of construction costs as well. I have a design build company as well, and so we've been very cognizant when we're laying out projects, thinking long term, not only for the construction costs, but then the life cycle costs for the building, for a county or for the jurisdiction. So running the numbers on it to remodel a building like this is a third to a quarter what it would normally cost to build something new, which is considerable. Again, we're talking about public money. The if we looked at even for the existing courthouse over there, of building something new to that level, you're looking tenfold costs. To give you an idea, justice centers around Texas right now range from generally 65 to 120 million in terms of costs. And we're looking at numbers in this first part here of under 3. So it's.
How many square foot are we talking about when you say generally 65 to 100?
It depends on looking, but generally they're from 30,000 and up.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
that's
you get some court, I mean, and there's some big ones like in Kamal, that they've got some big ones there in the 100 plus.
So you're basically saying that if we would build a brand new courthouse for 40,000 square foot, it would probably run 65 to 80?
If you build something that has that status of what we're looking at, that compares to what we have for the old courthouse, you're looking at that, yeah, that's it.
It's even more than I was thinking. I was thinking high.
What I like about this facility and what it is that we're doing at Plaquemine Street is it addresses our needs for the moment with what you're doing down here from a district court standpoint. Size-wise, it offers a very favorable alternative for the library, it would appear. And at a point down the road, whenever, if the library outgrows that and moves on to some grander facility, then we still have an area that's consistent with all this for future expansion. So this addresses needs for the county for years to come.
And plus it also gives you ability in these areas through here to bring in other entities that deal with day-to-day court proceedings, bail bonds, things like that you bring around you. So you have a lot of flexibility for different, the synergy of the different type of departments and day-to-day operations.
And from a commerce standpoint, it still keeps all of that in downtown Floresville, which I think is also somewhat important. There are probably some folks here who do not understand what a Sally Port is.
I'm sorry.
Would you explain that?
Certainly, yes, sorry. It's actually it's an enclosed, secure structure that they'll actually can bring in, for prisoner transfer, they can bring in a truck. The doors are then, it's like a big rectangular box, steel doors. You drive in, the bailiffs and sheriffs take the prisoners into a secure facility, and the truck can either remain there or it can move off, presently be parked elsewhere, but it provides a secure transportation facility.
Now, back before we purchased this facility, I made a suggestion that we add the jail over there and the courtroom and the same facility they basically have here for the district court. And I asked him the other day to take the cost of the Sally Port and the holding cells off, because we could possibly get by without them if we did that. And basically, it did about twice the amount to build it even without the Sally Port and the holding cells on there if we built a separate structure for it. Is that?
At least, yeah. The good thing about this facility is we should have a pretty good map from now on, knowing we know our services for the most part are coming in. We know what we're dealing with a lot here. And personally, I'm a lover of utilising existing buildings anyway. I think it's important for the world we live in today. But the life this will give this building here is going to be for the next 50 plus or whatever how many years we need for. We're always looking at trying life cycle costing out across the building or a renovation or a future remodel. The numbers we ran with recent ones in Guadalupe County where we had 75,000 square feet. We kept 25,000 square foot spare, and we had over numbers 45, 50 years plus future expansion. And over here, with the size comparable from Wilson County to Guadalupe County, I mean, I think you still got 40, 50 years without even batting an eye for the ability you'll have for future expansion.
That's one of the questions I had with your study, talking to the department heads and people, with the numbers we got today from ACOG, the growth that the county projected to have. Is there enough space there for the DA, the district clerk, and probation department?
When we met with the departments and spoke, as part of the plan, I think I've got an extra 5 staff in the clerk's office here. I think I've got an extra 5 attorney spaces just currently there for the attorney's offices. So I think that we make sure we plan that in for the expansion as big as possible, including the courtroom we have here. We've got, that's based on the largest courtroom really that the DA would want to have, if she felt comfortable with this size-wise. So we try to build that expansion into all of it, and the same for Dr. Baker. We're able to expand. We've got, I think, an extra 4 spare offices in operation. So active storage for the time being.
This is a scenario that came up that we talked about, and I don't particularly know how to address it, but feel like that we can find a use for it. And what it is, the DA's office as it is there, we have a DA elected from Wilson County at this time. He beat an incumbent from Atascosa County, which was housed in Atascosa County. There's someone from his office, or he will run again, and if they win, then they'll remain here. If they was to happen to lose to another county, we still will have a DA presence here, and with the office, we may actually even keep the staff here, but we could reuse it for something else in the event it happened. But my first thought was, do we really want to build that for, but I think better than to leave it undone, that it would be better to do it right,
And the good thing, again, about touching about the existing boundaries you have with this building here, we have nice white hallways, which work as well for public access. But on that point, for flexibility in the future, because it is a cellular arrangement, we're trying to keep most of the central hallway walls intact. Along here, it wouldn't be difficult at all if suddenly the clerk, the adult probation, is suddenly 6, 7 more offices. We just simply would take them away from the attorney's offices here and add them further on. So it's not like we've got to build a whole new wing, or it's moving the walls, keeping the walls, moving to an office and moving it all down. That because we've kept that central hallway that runs all the way through.
And I think one thing it's important for everybody to understand too, the courtroom and all of this includes the furnishing, the electronics, the security system in the courtroom, and all that is included in this thing. So it's probably a very important part of it.
The ability to expand is really important. Back to what Commissioner Platt said, when you look at the numbers from today, we had 43,000 population in 2010. You're looking in 23 years, since this is 2012, doubling that population based on the numbers that we have here. And that doesn't mean that the need for space is going to double. But again, what I like about this is that you have the ability to just move right on and take advantage of the space.
And I also like, it's unique the way that because you finish at the end, when it's all complete with the secure hallway here, you create a secure building envelope here. But the advantage you have here is if the library comes into this location here, you actually have access, it's all private sort of accessibility for folks going into the attorney's department here, the local division here. Everyone almost has sort of their own access points to and from. But it can also be a secure lockdown, for example, in the probation, they can be brought after hours. They haven't got to worry about extra staffing, extra security of coming in and then being walked through. They actually have their own private entrance after hours point to here, and you just come and go from there. So it's a unique opportunity to have basically a block where you can do that.
And if the library did come, it wouldn't affect them at all. They have their own entryway separate from the courtroom. You might also add about the parking lot.
Oh, yes. So we're also looking then at over here on this corner here where they have those porta cabinets that they've done there. But looking at creating a new parking lot over here too. We obviously have the existing parking over on the Fall Street, along the side here where most of us park on here currently, and then down along Third, and of course you've got it all along, is that 8th Street? Right, it's through there. So, you know, we've got, again, ample parking as well. And then what we do is we keep the trees in the center as is. I would even keep the existing drainage swale for the time being in its current location, and really come off almost a Texas airscape landscape to the interior. It's sort of calming and serene, and again, it's all about all sort of artsy on it. But it's important as you think about the whole project that this is for long-term, for low maintenance, for landscaping.
A zero-scape kind of.
Zero-scape arrangement to it, bringing some natural Texas flora and fauna, and then along this drainage path that we have here, we can keep that, and putting some Texas Plan River Rock arrangement through it would really complement the existing structure and the environment that we have here as well.
I could donate some cactus.
Sure, a bunch of
Just trying to help.
Could we go with some kind of whales?
Well,
Oh, no.
Market, design or?
I can paint nice red floor, you come in or something. The whole wrong. Baby dragons, yeah.
Anyone else have comments, questions, anything they'd like to ask?
What is the price for that, right there?
The rough numbers we're looking at right now, and we're looking at 2.9, something like that, around here.
2.9 for that.
Between 2.7, 2.9 for this, for the new Sally Port, the offices, this room here.
And that's not adding the library.
No,
Right.
no, library separate.
does that include furniture and the whole?
Yeah.
So that's complete, ready to walk in and do business?
Tentative right now, but that's what we're at, looking at numbers, the numbers we've run.
So we're gonna have to add numbers if we wanna remodel this area for the library.
Yes, you know, I think, again, areas in here, we're probably looking at, I'd say 1.5, 1.6, something like that for this area. Maybe that's, the great thing is we haven't got to build it, we've got roof, we've got walls, we've got power, we've got utilities coming in here, so it's just the interior finish out, so we need to.
Now, is that creating sort of a state-of-the-art, if that's the right term, library?
Yeah, that's the top-notch library, so I mean, depending on specifications we end up going with, I mean, we could probably get less than that.
We were looking at, what, $1 million plus just for the shell in some of the other locations.
Yeah, the location we're looking at was around $1 million, yes.
And that was before you did anything from an interior standpoint.
And it's in the potential what you can do. I was down in Brownsville, I think I was down there a couple months ago, I was down at the Lower Rio Grande Valley Architects meetings, and I went to the Brownsville Library, and they done the same thing, having existing facility. But they had like a 2-story high space. They went in and put in a mezzanine floor that into it. And that actually, in the same way that I know that Nikki's really sort of on board with that as well, taking libraries to the next level, next century, you've got to get young folks in. And they had a federal grant from them, which I would apply for as well, if you're going forward with this, to, they had 180 new computers they put in. And that actually puts money back in the coffers to and literally, I've never seen a library like that in my life. There's children everywhere, they come straight from after school with grandparents, parents, they do the homework, they do the studies, then they go upstairs and play on computer games, and they spend the entire, it's re-educating an entire new generation of the fun of the use of the library. So I mean, I think it's could be a real good draw in for revenue from that as well. As we look at putting a cafe in here as well, we've been talking about, you know, taking the existing covered walk here and glazing that in and creating a little cafe area they can sit out at the landscape. It'd be very, really nice addition to the facilities.
I've said before, just in general, and I'll repeat myself, is that I think Wilson County sits in an interesting position. And I thought this when I ran for office back in 2006 or whatever it was. When you look at the growth the county has experienced, when you look at the kind of growth that we've had, we set, as Commissioners Court, in a position to make a difference in how this county works, how this county is viewed for decades to come. That doesn't mean we need to go out and wastefully spend money, but it means that if we do the library, that we do a library the county's proud of, not something we're ashamed of. And if we do a district court, it all makes a statement. The old courthouse, the same sort of statement. And I know it may be a very nebulous thing, but from the standpoint of folks looking to move to Wilson County, it can make a difference. You know, and I look up toward Kerr County and what they've done. Don't have anything against Atascosa County, but if people are trying to decide where it is they want to locate, I want them to look at Wilson County as opposed to Atascosa or Karnes, or maybe even Guadalupe, and say, that's the place that I want to be. And I think things like this make a difference.
So we answer everyone's questions today about whatever. On the facility for the district judicial area, you gave a 2.9. Does that include the parking lots that some of it may come off with that, or is that with the?
We're still working on breaking those numbers out, and if we can, we've done that with other jurisdictions, if it's possible that in-house, you know, road and bridges, we can handle that. We may be able to carve that piece out and actually make that cheaper. So I think that, yeah, and again, it's sort of rough numbers. We don't really have any drawings to cost them yet. This is our square footage is based on our knowledge base and our previous experience. So, but I think, you know, I think we're pretty close there, I think.
And then you say 1.6 on the library, and that's high end, and that includes the outside of changing it to look like a library.
We do something on the front end for here to change it. It needs to, I think, architecturally, aesthetically, it needs to feel like it's part of the complex. But
right.
Yes, I agree. I think it needs to have its own identity that, you know.
And that would be.
Yeah, creating a new sort of structure here.
And then the old courthouse, you'd already give us kind of like $1.5 million of stabilization of it, the windows, the roof, the wall, and the stabilizing. And probably an additional $500,000 would do the redesign for whatever our needs are as we've discussed.
Because I think that the existing courthouse just works, which is why we've gone full circle like at Guadalupe when we're going with the commissioners and back to the old courthouse on the top floor. I think it's a real sensible way to look at using that space. The way that the existing courthouse is laid out, the sort of sterilization of the offices on the ground floor works very well to bringing in order, and then, you know, with the treasure department, it works very, very well for all that. And again, it's really, they'll be updating, bringing the handrails to code, on the stairwells, things that we're going to have to do just by code. But then over into the back office, creating more openness of space, but continuity of the offices down there. I think it works really well for it, really well for it. At a minimal, you know, at a minimal cost rather than building elsewhere. Right. Again, all these existing facilities, what really costs, you know, is get the structure up, utilities, all those. We have all that, all these facilities we're talking about. I mean, we know where they are. Certain areas may need to be replaced, but for the most part, the buildings are all sound.
And expanding to take care of the needs of the county clerk's office.
Right, that's cutting a hole in the floor and putting a pipe.
Well, so on the legal parts of this, I know that you got a contract inside you. Have you read that contract? That agreement?
I have, and I sent a couple of pages of proposed changes over to Mr. Fuller, and he incorporated them. And then I had one more today that I don't know if the Commissioner's Court cares or not. I thought you might want to ask for a key man provision, and that just says that you know, the firm is Coleman Graves or Coleman Plus Graves Architects. They just key man provision would say that as far as the county is concerned, Lindsey Thorne and his involvement is key to Wilson County going with this firm, that's how you decide to go. And that if for any reason he's not involved in the project for 30 consecutive days, we give you the right, but not the obligation, to terminate the contract, and then whatever part of it had been completed by the architectural firm up to that date, you have to pay him for that date. The other thing, and I mean, I haven't crunched the numbers in this contract. The contract is broken down into 5 different phases.
Yes, with traditional 5 phases.
And I put a provision in that says that y'all haven't gotten the funding hammered out yet, and that the first 2 phases are the schematic design phase and design development phase, and that if you sign a contract, you'll be authorizing them just to go through those first 2 phases. And the commissioner's report will have to make sure you've got the funding in place for all of this. You don't have to decide what you want to do as far as building. There's, I don't know, several different ways you can go under state law. You can just go out for bids with contractors and have the architect work for the county, looking over the contractor's shoulder, making sure they're doing it right. You can go in a design build format where you sign a contract with one firm and they do the architectural work and the construction work. There's several different ways you can go. Yes, you select go out for bids, I think, for a lot of stuff, but there's different ways you can go, and you would need different sets of documents, unless you're told to tell you better than I what they would be. And my neck is stiff. I'm not looking at people, I'm not trying to be rude. So that's something that y'all would have to decide today or the next couple of months, probably at least. But I put in there that, you know, only do, if you sign a contract today, just do the first 2 phases until y'all get the funding and decide how you want to go into construction. And then the next 2 phases after that are what?
Construction drawings, construction documents, and then you have permitting.
Construction document phases and the bidding or negotiations phase. And again, that's going to depend on, are you going to have it so it's design build, and Mr. Thorne's firm is coming to the county with a bid on, say, what it would cost for them to be the general contractor also? Or are you going to just have him prepare bid packets, and then he's going to sit down with you and go over the bids that are received and let somebody else do the contract? We all have to decide that later. And then the final one is the construction phase. I just put that you wouldn't go past the first 2 until y'all tell them in writing. You wouldn't go to the construction phase until y'all tell them in writing.
And that's pretty typical. We do that as each phase passes. We then have written approval to go to the next phase. And we give you plenty of notice. We don't say, right, we're all done now, and you know, you'll know that we can.
And if y'all want to look these over, I mean.
I like the key man, or whatever that was called. Not that I would anticipate anything, but that would ensure that we don't get set aside to some young architect that, or an apprentice or whatever. So
They will come in and say, how come you didn't go out for bid on?
Yes, or just, you know, somebody you don't know.
Exactly.
That's the only thing that we're about, if somebody comes in and says, well, how come you don't get other bids? And you just stay with one. Is that legal or not?
On the architectural services, and professional services, yes. As far as if you're doing the design build, we'd have to sit down and look at the statute. But again, that's something that we really help you with.
And I can help you with that, because I've done that as well with other jurisdictions, so I know the protocols up until this year of what they required. So I can give you my advice on that.
And we did go out for the courthouse bid.
Yes.
I guess to answer Alfred's question, we went out on bids for the courthouse. Can we put these 2 together?
Well, this.
Or would it be separate?
Well, they'd be separate contracts. But right now, as long as you're doing simply professional services, you're outside of the scope of bidding. I know that y'all did get some architects come in and pitch stuff, but if it's just professional services, it's like hiring an attorney or an engineer, you don't have to go out for bids. You're supposed to select who you think the best firm is for the county's needs, and then see if you can work out the price with them. If you can't, if you think they're too expensive, then you go to who you think the next best firm is.
So this is only for phase 1 and phase 2?
Yes, it's only for the schematic design phase and the design development phase. And then you have to come back and decide how you want to do the construction, and that you have the funding in place.
That's the other stuff.
And again, we're there to help with that too. That's what we do as part of the professional, we're there to give advice on what we think.
We're kind of in the process of the first two right now, aren't we?
Yes, I mean, I think the ordinance department's done a lot of work
Right.
on certainly the first page, maybe the first two. I think that part of the other stuff on the agenda is they want engineering studies that, what are they gonna do, come and test this?
Yeah, we have the civil engineer, two other, we have, you can start this as you're cricking your neck, Russell. We have, two other consultants we're really looking at, that will be the civil, and as part of the civil work, they'll be designing the actual rejig of the driveways, parking lot areas, retaining walls. And believe a part of that bid is geotechnical services to draw, I think, 4 geotechnical pole samples to check the substrata data. They base their design of their driveways and everything on that. And then the structural portion of it, it's not extensive, it's really more to do with the roof over the new. So we actually have the taller amongst us don't bump their heads when they, or feel like they bump their heads when they're sitting in the courtroom. For the most part, we're anticipating then part of the structural engineer scope to give us advice if we're taking, for example, the library's included that part, but if we are moving sections of walls, which we will be, steel section, heavy sizes, and as the case may be.
Well, you've covered your architectural contract, geotechnical engineering contract, and proposal for structural engineering services.
And that's it.
That's it. Anyone wish to have them broke out, you can just take them all three.
Y'all want to look this over?
No, that's what we got to do. No,
Well, I submitted them as 3 separate contracts. That's a typical way to do it. We will be the point to coordinate this for you. It's not like, oh, here you go. We will be looking at it always. That's part of what we do.
What, the question, well, after that, then you have to go out for a financial advisor so you can get a.
We've got one here today to discuss some with us. Mr. Henderson, that had been representing the county since in the 90s, was going to be here today. He sent one of his associates to talk to us some about financial advice today.
So we'll get to that in a bit.
It did not get on the agenda.
But I do have, Bob was nice enough to send us some information on different financing as far as how much, the debt service would be. I apologize, Justin, because he came all the way down here because Bob was sick, and then I started reading the agenda, and it was one of those things where I thought Dawn was gonna do it, and she thought I was gonna do it type thing. But we do have some numbers that the commissioners do have as far as different,
No,
what the
I
INS would.
That was the only question, so we know exactly how much are we gonna go and borrow, and how we're gonna pay for it, and.
Is that something that, with this gentleman here, that after court, maybe we should set up a committee that would meet with the auditor and this gentleman?
Why don't you and Albert and the auditor meet with him?
Okay.
I'm happy to stick around.
Keeps them out of the office.
Exactly.
Mr. Thorne, these numbers that you presented before, are these pretty good numbers for systematic and design?
Yeah, they've gone up a little bit, only because we've increased the scope of the work. It was originally down to just here, from 30,000 is up to here now, which I think, and again, they were contingency line item numbers. I based part of this on like 150 square foot, the other on 130 square foot. This is more complex than this. So it's gone up. There's a new number in the contract there. I think it's based on the 2.9 number now.
Does he have the contract?
Yes.
Sure.
It's just because the square footage went from 13 to 21.
For those of you, and some of you already understand this, but this criminal, or this district court system that we're talking about, as it is now, the district judges are using the courtroom at the criminal justice facility. The district clerk is located in this building. The adult probation is located on the corner of the courthouse. The DA's office is downtown. And these prisoners have to visit with the probation in most cases, are not necessarily prisoners, but people from the court has to report the probation stuff. This brings it all together where they won't be shuffling papers and moving all over town in order to deal with it. It really would be a very convenient and safer situation than the way it is at the time.
Judge, before I make, I know that you're gonna make a motion in a minute. I would like to say something that concerns me a little bit only. That I know that this is gonna take a lot of money. I mean, it's a good idea for the county and we're going in the right direction, but the only thing is that when we talk about over, what you talk, $6-7 million, I would really like a public input on all this and see.
We will incorporate that in the, when we get, past this design, it'll be incorporated. We spoke with, Russell about, you know, the process and we need to do that. Talking to Mr. Thorne as far as, holding the public meetings and so forth, I think there's a possibility that we could break around as early as May, by utilizing those things and doing it. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would like to see, at least, you know, a couple of them see the public input. And that way, at least, I know there's gonna be some negatives and positive for both sides, but at least we hear the concerns of them and what they have to say.
And we do. I mean, honestly, I've been really impressed at the degree that he's gone into meeting with the different people as far as historical library groups and I would even suggest, I suggested the other day that we just go ahead and put an item on each agenda to be updated on the building of the courthouse. And Russell, I don't know if it's possible or not, but if we could even list it on the agenda as a public hearing on each one of them, you know, and that way, in each commissioner's court, anyone that has any input wouldn't have to sign up as a public hearing section. Could go ahead and have input on it because there's nothing, I mean, it's wide open. I brought up things this morning that to make sure that everyone understands what page we're on and how we're gonna do it. And from what I can gather from the citizens I've talked to, yes, you always have different, but a lot of times it's based on inadequate information that people make comments and things of what, you know, but once you get the information, and I think the majority of the people want our county to be moving forward, taking in consideration, as we've always said. I know it sounds corny and input, but the best quality of life for the lowest amount of taxes that we can possibly do. And I think we've upheld that and we'll continue to. And I'm very excited that we've not only got in our view now that we can address the needs of the court, address the needs of the courthouse itself, address the library needs, that it's things that was hanging over our head that we can look at and be done. And we get that done in about 2 years, and I'll be out of here. You won't have to put up with me anymore.
Judge, when I say I'm more than happy to come whenever you need. If you said you had as a running item on the document.
Well, unless there's something, you know, that comes up, we'll have it on there and we'll briefly discuss it. It's something that we need some, we appreciate that.
Exactly.
You know, Judge, I agree. This thing needs to be as open as possible so that citizens feel like they've had a chance to put their 2 cents in. You're never going to do anything of this scale and get 100% support. You're not going to do the library and get 100% support. Somebody wants it over here, somebody wants it over there. I'm reminded in church when the pastor talks about that he had a church where there was problems because they the organ's always supposed to be on this side and the piano's supposed to be over here, and they wanted to change them. People left church. I can't go to a church with an organ over here. And so you're not gonna please everyone, that's the point. But we need to make this a very open situation. We need to do what's right for the county. And it is a perfect situation. Interest rates are at a historic low right now. Am I right, sir?
That's correct.
Interest rates are at a historic low. We are in a situation where the oil evaluations in our county were up vastly this last year. They're going to jump from the standpoint of the impact on the citizens. The impact is going to be minimal or nil from a taxing standpoint, and it's something that
And with the comments, put in a rail yard up north of the tax base.
that's right. So he can just have all that stuff brought in by rail, and he can bring it over.
Yeah, right. Money can also.
It's tax base, a lot of it. That's exactly. Anything else? Okay, on item 13, 14, 15, is there a motion? Commissioner Wiley, Fowler, all in favor?
And that's the,
I'm sorry, why didn't you?
Fowler.
Why?
and that's with the contract with the revisions that were brought back today, plus the key man provision.
Yes.
I'll give Mr. Corner an email his office, but it was like 10 o'clock.
You did a great job presentation, we appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, my voice is a little hoarse.
Do what?
My voice is a little hoarse, I apologize.
Okay, item 16, discuss, take action on Wilson County Veteran Service Officer budget request. We brought that in, I asked on the email to each of you, did you get it?
For 3,000 and. 3,000 and something that they were requesting.
Thank
Did you get that one?
I'm sorry.
Veterans office,
What's that?
the request they wanted for the veterans officer.
No,
You didn't get one?
no.
I'm sorry?
It's me.
I told Dawn to email it to you, I guess she missed it.
I got the email, but I didn't make a copy of it. I read it.
Already, too. I thought it was for
Did Don make a copy of it?
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I do have the current budget. What are they requesting now?
additional $3,000. That they work at a very minimal amount for our county. Most counties occur 3 or 4 times the amount in order to keep those veterans officers. And it is probably, most anything they request monthly.
I think he's still up by the seat.
I think that's what I asking for travel expenses, hours that I think that the federal government will give them.
Yeah, we're talking about mileage costs for training.
And then some extra hours.
Hotel, total estimate about $3,000. And then he's asking for a salary increase from $9,900 to $11,008.
That's an increase in hours too, is it not?
Yes,
Yes, increase in hour,
to get to a minimum of 1,000 or something.
1,000 paid hours a week, 9.5 hour days. So, looking at 3 and another 2, so you're looking at about $5,000 increase.
No, I told him that he had to be here.
Right now, what they've got budgeted for 2013 year is $13,385 with a salary of right at $2,000. See what their travel allowance is. The travel allowance is fairly small. So that would add an additional $5,000 to their budget. Bring it up to about $18,000.
I assume that it's significant that we have him in an authorized position during the record this morning. I don't know a lot about that department, but
We've been very fortunate over here. We had Mr. May for a number of years, and Mr. Howestro, and he's been coming in. And all of them are very dedicated to what they do. And it's just,
And they do provide a lot of service to the residents. And they go out there and they help them. Well, that's, I think that's what he's trying to say on that trouble. That he has to go sometimes to the VA and talk to people down there so they can get help.
and I think too, we had to reach a certain level of training to so they can provide certain services.
I gathered when I read that most of these, aside the additional hours were necessary to be authorized, and then the costs that we're talking about were essentially one-time costs.
The training
That he had
costs.
several trips he had to make in Houston for training.
And we do have about $750 budgeted already for travel and training. So I'm assuming that the way this reads to me, it sounds like it's gonna be 3 total for the year, so we've already got 750 in there. So it's gonna be an additional.
So you can find a place,
Yes, actually, I think we can. Basically, I have a little leeway in, workers' comp. And we also now have a little leeway in our insurance because the insurance went down some. So, I'm sure we can cover it.
Motion, Mr. Gomez, Mr. Wiley, all in favor? You can shoot.
No, I mean,
Let's say, I put 5,000. Pardon? Pull that stuff all out.
I'm gonna. On item 17, the city discuss and take action resolution opposing the increases of truck weights or lengths operating on federal, state, county, and local roads. All of you are familiar with that. I'll go ahead and read the resolution into the minutes. Opposing increases of truck weights, lengths operating on federal, state, county, and local roads. Whereas the Wilson County Commissioners Court is concerned for the health, welfare, safety, and state residents and the conditions of its infrastructure. And whereas large trucks already have a fatal crash involvement rate 40% higher than passenger cars. And whereas heavier and longer trucks are likely to be less safe than those on the road today and make roads more dangerous. And whereas more than half the bridges in the national highway system are more than 40 years old and more than 20% are rated as structurally deficient or functionally obsolete. Whereas the federal government already subsidizes heavy truck operations nearly $2 billion each year because their fees will not cover the damage to roads and bridges. And whereas heavier and longer trucks would accelerate the deterioration of roads and bridges, put even greater pressure on taxpayers to fund infrastructure. And whereas law enforcement officers, safety advocates, state and county governments, truck drivers, concerned citizens across the country oppose increases in truck size and weight. And whereas Congress was so concerned about the safety and infrastructure issues presented by heavier and longer trucks that it instructed the U.S. Department of Transportation to undertake a 2-year comprehensive study to truck size and weight. And whereas a handful of large trucking and shipping companies continue to press Congress to approve heavier and longer trucks. Now therefore be it resolved that the Wilson County Commissioner Court opposes the legalization and at any level of government that seeks to increase the truck size and weight of this state. I also wrote letters from myself to the senator and the U.S. representative asking them to not to bring legislation this year, to wait until the study was completed before they did any, and that was basically that. And that was the person that came here was asking for that, and so any other comment?
Just I'm amazed I didn't consider it, but the damage
Oh,
it
yeah.
seems to do to the infrastructure.
Just a suggestion, do you want to segue into 20J, because it's about the culverts and links to, and let's reporting back to court.
20J? Okay, weight limit, county bridges, low water crossings, that's to take action.
After a comment by Commissioner File, I remembered there was something different about culverts than roads and bridges on setting weight limits. And if you look at this 621.301, the middle section, Part A doesn't say culvert and Part B does say culvert, and that's why I remembered that there was a tiny difference there. But reading through this, even though it doesn't say culvert in A and it does in B, it's pretty clear that they're going to treat culverts the same way they treat roads and bridges, and that for the county to weight limit it, it's going to have to be done through the TxDOT with the engineers, signed and sealed study. I think the reason they put that on the county, they had it done by licensed engineers. TxDOT has engineers on staff who are not licensed, so they don't have to have a licensed engineer. So I mean, if y'all want to try and like those signs people put up says Copperhead Sanctuary or something to prevent people from trespassing, if you want to try and put a sign up, I'm not saying you can't do that, but I was hoping that we could maybe shortcut, not have to have that engineer study on culverts, but it turns out no, we have to have those for culverts too.
But TxDOT won't come out. They won't send their engineer out unless it's a TxDOT bridge.
Right.
And these that we're talking about aren't the bridges, so.
No, I get what Russell's basically is saying, if we want to put signs up, put them up, but they don't think it meets the.
Do we need to put the road or list the road?
Let's put them up.
I mean, yeah, I've already argued, but one man saying, do we need to list the roads where the bridges are?
No. To answer your question, because it doesn't have, what he's saying, it has no authority other than the sign.
The issue for me, along with that, all along, has been, one, the need to complete our county map. And if there was a way to note these bridges on our county map that we produce, so that whenever they go, wherever it is, I guess to the county clerk's office and get one of those maps that show the precincts. And it lists all the bridges, that we can have these listed somehow as agricultural bridges or weak agricultural bridges, or some notation on that. So if I'm with a drilling company and I get that, I look at it, I see something that tells me that's probably a bridge I don't want to go over.
I mean, I'm not the
Yeah,
attorney, but I see no reason why you couldn't designate those on the map to say it's a weak bridge, so people have that advisory.
So, weak agricultural bridge, or
Yeah,
whatever the proper term. is.
Whatever you as commissioner feel like on that, you'd be, you know, as far as an advisory thing. And probably, you've already ordered signs and you probably didn't do this, but there's a difference in an advisory sign and a sign with a whatever, that you know, like, but, that probably would have been a better choice for those bridges is to put the advisory sign.
His says Copperhead Sanctuary.
But
But we need to have some kind of detail as a commissioner's court.
are you still working on the map?
Well, we're waiting on this.
That's all. we're
Okay,
looking for.
so basically what'll come out of this is each one of your commissioners go in as far as the map and designate to which bridges you want to be listed on there as unsafe or say that it very well.
What kind of wording, I mean, what are we gonna put on the map itself, you
Right.
know? They can
Advisory
designate
information, maybe.
an icon, and then what is that icon gonna mean? Substandard bridge, or low weight bridge, or
Low weight agricultural
I
bridge.
mean, what do you want designated?
It's a low-weight bridge, we use that, it's a low-weight bridge.
And then they check the map, they should keep some damage from them.
Yeah. You want to list the road for the map?
It's TxDOT and the ones that. It'll tell you the location, and then it'll tell you whether or not it's on TxDOT's inventory, if it's on their inventory, the ID and structure number. If it's low restricted by TxDOT, it'll say yes, and then the weight limit that's in the TxDOT inventory, that y'all provided, and whether or not it's overtopped in the 10-year storage. So if y'all wanna look over that and then give me the additional ones that might not be on there. Larry, that should be all the ones that were on the map that you added.
Just 2 on 451. You want to add over 451?
We can bring that back later.
Uh-huh, yes.
Oh, we already did. It says,
Discuss and take action. Limits on county bridges, all water crossings, discuss and take action.
How would you want to word that? Actually,
Should give me.
For action.
your date.
because they're all going to, we should
just put that on the deal, 5,000 pounds per axle, so what a return, what term did you use while ago for identifying these? bridges?
Low weight,
well, what if you just put like 5,000?
and we can put low weight, and no one knows what's
Yeah, what's the
considered
weight?
low weight.
Put 5,000
Y'all have
for
to
that?
come up with
Taking their verbiage and.
If somebody runs over it, and the bridge falls, it's not gonna wait to stand there, but then they look at it from the truck. And that's the key. If they run over it and mess it up and we try to sue them, then we make sure they're doing What's the next one up? That's it. They're all over the place. So I haven't identified, what I've identified is something that spans a structure, exactly. Either wood, metal, or
System bridges having a weight limit of 5,000 per axle.
And, all in favor? Aye. Then take the break to, 7
o'clock.